Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN Kerbeck, and our show today is episode 125. It's Coexistence and Sustainability with Pet Psychic AMINAH. Our topic today is when we cause 3,000 birds to die. Wow, that is serious. Let's welcome the star of our show, joining us from California in the United States, Pet Psychic AMINAH. Hello,
Yay.
Welcome.
You want to know how the weather is? Come on,
look at that. Sure.
Sunny and warm.
Sunny and warm. That's how it is here today as well. It's very, very humid.
Absolutely. And we wanted to bring it to everybody with this fabulous background.
Absolutely. By the way, you were the topic of conversation on another show that we had this week because more and more people are interested in coexistence and sustainability. So just so you know, people might be reaching out because I'm recommending you and referring people to you to talk about this subject. So for people who don't know, I just mentioned it's episode 125. For a certain number of episodes, this show was called Presenting Pet Psychic AMINAH. And then we decided to really embrace everything it is that you're passionate about. Tell our audience, now that we've made this change, what can they expect to be watching and learning on the show from you and me?
Well, first and foremost, who knows? We could get off on tangents of passion and all that, but in that passion, it's going to be how can I know for my business plan, and I think Dr. JACALYN, why we work so well together is your business plan is how can I give as much information, support, energy, positive energy, and uplifting to get all of us through and to life in a happy, balanced, loving way. In that is what coexistence is for me. Do I kill spiders? Nope. We keep some party cup somewhere and we scoop them up and we walk them outside because guess what? If we had mosquitoes like they have in the eastern part of the state, then I'd want those spiders around. There is a balance to everything. You might not understand why a rattlesnake exists or why a frog exists or why a whatever, especially the animals that we're afraid of. And spiders is one of those. What I'm hoping to impart on you is why not only they're here, but all the benefits they have to you personally. Because if anything, as an educator and a public speaker for so much of my life, is you have to make it relevant. And I'm really hoping that I can make these topics not only fun, I tend to be a little goofy, and Dr. JACALYN comes along right with me. And we want to make it relevant so that you see how to put it into your own life. It's not just dogs. It's not just cats. I have a passion for snakes. I have pictures of me when I was younger holding a great horned owl for the Sunset magazine. I have been bitten by a snake. So far, just one. And it wasn't poisonous. I have a lot of on-the-ground experience to go with a college education, to go with talking to people like you and me who just want to know, well, why did they do that? And that's what we're doing on this show, through my social media, all of my times I do a public lecture, especially depending on the audience. We want to talk about what you're interested in. So please Put something in the comments. Email us later. We'd love to talk about things that maybe you're wondering. So what's up with the stink bug? I was like, I don't know, but we'll find out for you.
Thank you. And today we're going to be talking about when 3,000 birds die, what we did to cause it. We actually discussed something about birds dying on another show this week, the United Kingdom News and Culture, about the wind turbines and where they are in various places in the world. And a number of birds have been killed. It's disrupted the ocean, the foundation of the ocean, the sea. How about that?
Right.
So this is something different that you're talking about today. What is this topic when we cause 3,000?
We're all cousins. You're right. We're all related. So I constantly am reading and I'm constantly keeping up on current events. And, you know, the lovely thing I think about the internet is it keeps track of all that and shows me articles that, hey, you might be interested in this. Great. I didn't have to go find that. What came across my feed, it would have been early or late last year, and holding on to it. So of course I make an article of it and I talk about it on my own platform, and we hadn't gotten to it because we're doing so many wonderful things. It's time to get it in when we can. You'll see here on the show today that I have pictures, and these pictures were taken by Fish and Wildlife and the people who take care of that beach, because I don't know how they go day to day without mental illness issues and or needing. Here we go. So what happened is there were a group of kids. They were in their 20s, so not small children or anything, and they went on a canoe trip and they landed on this beach. Wherever they were, it was close enough for a canoe, and they got out, and if you'll look at where the arrow is on the picture, pointing down. I did this specifically so that you would understand what the heck is that? It's just a beach. No, those are eggs. The mother and father are pictured in one of the pictures. And it wouldn't necessarily be this mother and father. This is the type of bird. It's a very, very specific bird to this island. They lay these eggs, and 3,000 babies died that day because these kids used all these drones. They were out there to have a good time. I understand they didn't know, and that's why I'm talking about it. Drones have all kinds of use in science, in following things, in checking herds, in security. They're just tools. All have benefits if you're using them correctly. So these kids coming out here thinking, oh, we're just going to go out to this island. It's not going to make any difference. I don't blame them directly because they didn't know. They didn't know that, oh, gosh, look, there's a whole bunch of eggs. Let's say the drone showed up for 5 minutes and the parents left. Why the parents leave is for fear for their life. Why they don't come back. Dr. Jacalyn, do you have any guesses why they don't come back? Because this was one set of parents, and they have come to this island every year for 10 years to lay their eggs, because all the rangers know about it. All of them and there was a sign that said, do not come here. This is nesting season. So the kids still sent the drone, even if they didn't come very far up on the beach. And I posted the whole article so people can be fair and read the whole thing. I'm giving you on the show all the cliff notes, all the salient points. Do you have any
I do have a question for you.
Go ahead.
So just so I understand, what were the kids doing with the drones? What's the purpose of it?
Just flying it around the island.
Oh, okay. Just like a kite.
Just doing kids.
Okay.
And we're talking these kids because they were all sighted. They were all caught. And they were all sighted because there was a sign on the beach that said, do not come here. Do not cross. I mean, there's no ropes. It's an island. They didn't rope the island off, but they had signs everywhere that said, this is nesting season. This is nesting season. This is nesting season. Here's the birds. Here's to know what's going, because a lot of people don't know. So for me as an animal person, I want to know, what kind of bird, and what they look like, and I wonder if I can see them out from the water if I was in a boat, and they came in a boat. And they didn't come in some power boat. It was a step up from a rowboat. So, they had a small motor, but this was about 4 or 5 kids. From what I understand, they're all in their late 20s or late teens to their 20s. And they just came out to have fun on the island. This is the only, and I'll have to read the article again, so I'm not going to be quoting it, but this would be the only 4 weeks, 6 weeks that those eggs were on the ground. Those kids could have come back. They could have understood the signage and saying, oh, it says, do not cross here. They don't have it roped off. It's an island. It's a pretty small island, but the local kids, of course, would know it as a hangout. So what happened is the kids sent the electrical, wonderful version of a bird out and scared the parents because they were already sitting on the eggs. That's a lot of eggs to sit on, or two birds, but they go from nest to nest to nest. They were so frightened that the parents flew off and never came back. So 1,000 babies died within 2 days because the rangers didn't know about it also. What you could have done if the kids would have known, and again, this is an education, and that's why we're doing this talk, is what if you were them? If it was me and I didn't have a drone, or I did have a drone or whatever, and I got on the island and then I went, wait a minute, everybody stop, everybody turn around, go back. And maybe I'd worried that I'd done the harm because I didn't know, or the sign wasn't close enough into the water, or whatever it is. I'd still would have wanted to call the rangers. So many people don't know they need to do that. And in this day and age, a cell phone is genius because you can just Google it or call the operator and say, hey, I'm on island so-and-so, and I think I just crossed into an area of eggs. I'm really worried about them. If somebody would have raised the alarm, those babies, even some of them, could have been saved, because there are people that do this work, rescue work. Because let's say you find one of the parents injured. There is no way that one parent can sit on all those eggs. So what one does is one goes out and catches food, gets some fish, brings it into the one nesting, and then they switch. And then the other one goes out and comes back. This is how that happens. And they go from egg to egg to egg to egg. They're on an island that stays pretty warm, so the eggs do well for a small while on their own, not forever. They have to be sat on, and they have to be warmed, and they have to be checked, and they have to be rotated. And the parents do all of that. All of that was interrupted. 1,000 deaths. That's a great, no, it was 3, wasn't it? 3,000 deaths. This is a lot of deaths. So what I'm asking everybody to do is watch where you go. You could be in a neighborhood and a baby bird fall out of the nest. And we talked about this with the baby birds that fell literally into my kitchen, and they have for 2 years, every season. And what we talked about, I'm going to tell you again, find a sanctuary, find a rehabilitation center. It's as easy as Googling it. Get their phone number and take the birds there immediately. Touch them as little as possible and try to do it with a towel, napkin, whatever, in between you and your hands, so you don't leave any trace of people on them. And just to bring my story full circle, Dr. Jacalyn, my babies were released, and were released in what? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to our show where I had babies, birdies in my house. So they have since been released into the wild and had gotten mature enough. But these 1,000 babies didn't get that chance because we didn't know. We didn't know.
I think that's a really important point, because what you just shared about the hatching season, we have here where I am, there's a certain time that it's turtle egg season. I don't know what it's called. And people have signs they have them on their lawn about
Right.
this is the time of year when the turtles' eggs are hatching and turtles are crossing the street. And there's part of the beach that is literally, you cannot, there's no fence or anything, but you can't go there. So I could see how somebody might not know that. You
Right.
know, it amazes me just on a completely different level, just about how aware we are or we're not. There's signs, the beginning and the end of the boardwalk here, big signs, bike riding only permitted between these hours.
Right.
It's like right in the middle, people are riding the bikes. I'm thinking, did you not see the giant sign? Do you not
No.
see the, but it's the same thing with what you're talking about. People are just oblivious sometimes, and we have to realize it's not just about us.
Well, and there's the most important thing you just said. It's not about us. Everything's not about us. And I'm not sure. And you know, this would be, I don't know why I'm going to tell you this, but here it goes. This would be an amazing conversation with our whole team. I mean, could you imagine all the plethora of information and knowledge we have on the team on this channel alone? That would be an amazing conversation of just all of our experiences of doing something. We've all done something. I have, and said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I step on an earthworm. I'm sorry." Do you know how vital those little worms are? I agree with you completely, Dr. JACALYN, because I've seen it. I worked in high school at a sporting goods store, and if you know my upbringing, fifth child of a coach, blah blah blah, working in a sporting goods store was pretty apropos for my background. And we had the counter, you know, where you'd bring your jersey or something to have a letter put on or any of that. So it was a big counter. And we had signs, just what you said, little signs all the way down. Wet paint, you know, it was huge. Paper, you know, size, big signs. And we watched this lady come in, and she went, and we're like, "Oh no, we can't get to her." And she put her leather purse on the green paint. And we went, "Okay, we're going to just leave that alone." We took her order. Then as she started to leave, we said, "Wait, just a minute. Here's a wet towel. You're going to need it." "Why?" "Because your purse is in the paint." So we got her order taken care of first before we bothered to tell her, because she didn't lean on it herself. If she would have leaned on herself, we would have stopped her before that. So we teach as we go, right?
What else can you share with our audience about eggs themselves, whether they're turtle eggs or bird eggs? If you find these, never touch them. That's the first thing. What else should people do?
If you are the type of person that gets out there, like so many of us do, and walk in your neighborhood, in the forest, especially if you're going to walk in rural areas, there are always ways to keep yourself safe. Some of us carry whistles. Some of us, of course, have charged cell phones. But what if you're out of area, you know, out of zone or whatever? You're wearing sunscreen, all of these things. If you're going to be out in the wild, in the public, whatever that is for you, try to, if you can carry a water bottle, that's really, really great, especially if it's warm weather. Now let's change those. I'm prepared with the right boots, the right clothes, the right water bottle, with what happens when I come across an injured animal. Could be a dog, could be a cat, could be a bird, could be you hear babies chirping, but you decided to sit at the bottom of the tree, and for 5 hours, nobody came back. Be the one that has either the right phone numbers for, and nowadays you can Google everything. So you can Google your shelters. You can Google the city. Really great resource, because what I like about calling the city directly is maybe you don't know who you need. A lot of us don't know, okay, is there somebody who just specializes in island birds? The answer is yes. But I don't know. Do you know that phone number? I don't know if I would. I don't remember also if this place on their signs had a phone number, but I think they did, because they had signs everywhere. Nesting season, do not cross. Nesting season, they couldn't rope it off. It's an island. It's really big. But the drone surpassed all of that issue. And sadly, the rangers, when they came by a day or two later and found everybody dead and the parents gone, because in a wild animals world, this is a catastrophe that they can't fix. So they leave to save their lives because they truly felt like this drone was out to kill them. Why they didn't come back for their eggs. So they will choose to save their lives and breed again, then go and see what the drone is and or see if they will live or whatever. Many of these types of birds breed for life. So they're looking out for their mate and they're looking out for the future. But the catastrophic, I think what resonates with so many of us on this article and this happening was what do I want to say? The enormous amount of death of that many babies being there for still one set of birds, 3 set of birds. It was just catastrophic. So when you are faced with this, it's always good to know another number than 911. They have wonderful resources, don't get me wrong. A lot of people hesitate to call 911 because it's the emergency line. Well, for me in my world, an animal injured, a car wreck, and there I've got a dog or a cat half maimed, yeah, you can bet that I'm going to lean towards 911 once in a while because they have the proper resource for where I'm at and what's happened. Maybe I don't have that. Maybe I'm not calling the right person. Maybe I end up calling 3 people. I don't want to do that if there's a life on the line. Go to the most expedient and knowledgeable source you can. If you're close to City Hall, they are a wonderful plethora of information for their locality, not necessarily other things. But if you're going to be out in nature, be prepared. Have sunscreen. Have plenty of water that you're carrying with you. Have maybe a bandage or 2. Have a jacket and short sleeves. Have all of these things that you can turn into a way to protect. Now, if we had known, or this group of kids had known that these eggs all would die, I can't imagine that they wouldn't have called somebody when they got back to land, or some kind of contact, because there's always that window. This can be changed and lives will be saved. And this can no longer be changed. So the rangers, when they went out, from what I understand of everything I read, when the rangers went out, it was weeks and weeks later. And it was far too late. It was far too late for them. And the parents were long gone, because they did make an attempt to see if they could recontact with the parents. But because there is a way to check if the eggs are viable. And I believe that they thought there were a couple that might have been. Anyways, you want to be prepared. Have the sunscreen, have a bottle of water, have a means to call for help. Those are always, the pillars of doing anything out in nature, hiking, biking, whatever that is. You gotta bring your own batteries and bring your own Band-Aids. It's just a good idea.
I have a question, which is, how many eggs does the average bird couple lay in a season?
I don't know enough about this. That's a great question. So remind me and I'll look it up. But I've never, now they have this, you saw the space in the picture where they've got circles and there's little eggs in one each. So I'm thinking, you must be exhausted having all those eggs. But they never talk about another breeding pair. They only talk about this one breeding pair. So they must have laid, if you see that picture with all those eggs, we're talking, and they counted them, 3,000, not 100, not 20, 3,000. Now, there's a picture of a lot of birds in the background, but that would have been full hatch season. They're there for the food. They're there to get a mate, all of those things. That's not necessarily these babies as if they had hatched, but it would look similar. So it's possible that there's more than one parent, but the article never addressed that. They were really, really going after the tragedy and trying to get, I believe, because it's how I felt when I read it, get us to change our knowledge about how we behave in the wild, how we behave in nature. When you're not in your backyard, even your backyard has plenty of butterflies and birds and other things. So if you have a bird that's nesting in your tree and you decide to go up and look at it and touch it and pick it up and go, "Ooh, it's really cute and it should hatch soon and I'm going to put it down," and the parents never come back because you're always, you're watching them, you would know that. Why? Probably because you handled the baby in the egg. And that's what I'm trying to get everybody to think about, not making it about you, not making it about, but I want to touch it. I can't tell you, I've been on a few hikes where I was leading the kids up, but I want to do it. Oh man, I was like, nope, that is not the place you are. Just because you want to do it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. And that's true for most animals, especially wild ones. They have no idea how you're going to behave. We are carnivores in their mind. And if they have had any past experience with people, it's not necessarily a good one. How many animals do we still lose on the freeways? And we talked about this last year, and I have reposted about it. And Dr. JACALYN, I'd love to bring that back about having bridges made for animals, deer, coyotes, all this big stuff, that they can cross over freeway safely.
That was a great episode.
Yeah, and I continue to use it because it is current. And what I love about it being current is the cities and the counties are building. And people are like, why? Why are you doing this? Let me explain. So that, like this issue, you don't have a bunch of people going onto an island where you think, oh, the birds will be totally safe. It's an island. No, it's people. They'll find some way to get there, a helicopter, a boat, whatever. And it's not worth one life, much less 50 to 100 or whatever lives. And that's what we're talking about, the bridges that you make, that the counties and the states are making for high traffic animal areas. And that we'll cover on another show. But this is the same thing. If you don't know, don't touch. There's the motto. If you don't know, don't touch them. Don't touch an animal. If it's injured and you don't know how to help it, get a hold of somebody. If you're out of cell phone range, get in cell phone range and call somebody. 911, yes, is an emergency line. But if I had an animal dying in front of me, you can bet I'm using it because they're going to have the fastest resources. If I have a horse, a dog, a giraffe, whatever, injured, life-changing injuries that I don't have time to call the local vet or my vet, I'm going to use that number. It's for emergencies. And for people in my world and on my plan of going along, I couldn't live with myself if I hadn't tried. We're all different. We're all different. So I'm trying to give you simple ways so that you don't either cause it, but now have some tools to do something about it. Even if this had nothing to do with you, you might be the solution that this animal needs to live. That's what I'm hoping to leave everybody with, hope and a tool to do something on their own to make a change.
That's great information. And I know you've shared this before, but I think it's important to revisit it. So we're talking about animals in the wild. And of course, many people have bird feeders, and people might be like, oh, I'm confused because I'm not supposed to touch birds, I'm not supposed to touch their eggs, but yet I can feed them from a bird feeder at my home. Can you share more about this?
Yeah, going on the thread that you've brought up is perfect because it's not a what is the word I want? It's not an opposite of you only do this or you do this. We are in climate change. We are in dire needs for more plants and trees to survive. And yet we keep building. If your local, we're talking about somebody's home, not necessarily a business, but it can translate. If you're in a place where you know you can provide wild bird seed, natural bird seed, not sunflower seeds with salt on it, because they don't eat that. And that's, believe it or not, people do it. Oh, just pick up some sunflower seeds at the, 7-Eleven. Well, great. I hope you eat them, because they've been processed. You need raw. You need seeds that you literally probably could put in the ground and they grow something. A bird and any wild animal needs nutrients. And where we get those is from the original animal, plant, soil, whatever it was. If you are, let's say, if you eat trees and you're what is that worm that eats trees? Termite. I'm thinking of it, a termite. And you come up and say, but this looks just like a tree. I had it made just for you. And the worm will look at you like, you're kidding, right? Because it's not real. And it doesn't have the nutrition. It would be like you and I eating ice cream and I don't know, and tacos every day. Oh, well, there's meat and lettuce in there. Yeah, but it's fried and it's processed and it's just, eat a piece of fruit that's literally come off the tree, or something that you can see the ingredients in less than 5 names. An animal needs it first name, first thing. If you're feeding grass, it just should be grass without, I don't know, flavoring and coloring and that type of stuff. If you're going to have a bird feeder out, it needs to stay clean. Water is actually the most vital, more so than food. Birds have a mission on moving seeds from plant to plant to plant. That's how we get new plants. That's how we don't have just 500 oak trees over here and 1 pine over here, but it can't compete with the oak tree. Balance. The world is about balance. When we humans get involved, we decide that we want 10 of those trees because we think they're gorgeous and beautiful. Or we want 900 bushes, but no trees. That is not the same. It's not giving out the same oxygen for us. It's not providing the soil with the balanced nutrition. So when you plant for your yard, your backyard, whatever, for me, I have a patio. That's it. I live in a condo. I have a patio, and I have never counted, but I have like 10 stairs to get up to my front door. And on those steps are pots of different plants, because that's what I can do in the limitation I have. But I wouldn't plant an oak tree every single place. Let's say I did have a backyard and I did have a big hill and I wanted just oaks, which is lovely. They're lovely plants, but it's not diverse enough for wildlife. Wildlife are going to get a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this. They're going to defecate here and move that around, and then they're going to eat the seeds of this one and move that one around. You will never see a wild place that is healthy. Let me be really clear. That's getting enough rain, has the right animals, has great winter, spring, summer, and fall. And what's naturally happening is so many trees grow here, and so many bushes grow here, and so many lakes and rivers run here. I would love to do a whole show on this, but I'm going to still bring it up, is dams. Dams in, what was it? I don't even know if you know, Dr. Jacalyn, but dams were really, I want to say the 30s through the 60s. Dams were a big deal. They were being put in like everywhere in the United States. Oh, I'm just going to block this. We're going to build a housing. I'm going to block this and do this. I did one of my senior projects when I was studying for my animal science degree on dams. And talking about the devastation from the dam on. Everything that lost that water died. Plants, trees, communities, because it affects the people too, animals, everybody died, moved away, whatever it was. Most of them died in the beginning because they didn't know what was happening. And little by little over the last, I want to say 20 years, the government has started taking those dams down and reallocating the land the way it was supposed to be by nature, because that water was supposed to feed everything below it. Once you remove water, water is an essential. We can't exist without water, anybody. But what they found is it caused so much death that the rains stopped. So all that water they thought they were just going to replenish over and over and over didn't happen. They needed moisture to create moisture and clouds and all of this symbiotic relationship. Remember, we coexist. We don't selflessly, all by ourselves live here. But it all matters that we have water flowing, that we have these baby birds surviving and going. Because what do birds eat? Insects. 90% of the time they're eating insects. I don't know about you. I'm not really crazy about mosquitoes. I bring them up all the time. It's like, I've been in Alaska. It's the most beautiful state you want to go to. Also, there's many more, but the mosquitoes will kill you. So all of this needs to go on because we're a world, a round, circular world. We're not square. We're not straight lines. We are supposed to be working together. And I'm hoping that that's what we're doing on the show. And I know so many of my, I'm going to call colleagues on this channel, we're all doing the same thing. We're loving everybody so much to say, hey, we can do better. Let me show you a way I've learned, or I can teach you. And this is what we're trying to do with coexisting and understanding that if you want a quality life, you've got to care about everybody else. It really is that simple and that complicated. If you don't care about the stray cat and dog running around your neighborhood who possibly could be giving out disease and or get run over by a car and have a horrible, horrible death with some cruel person thinking they can throw rocks at them. I hate that shelters exist, but I'm so glad that they do. That's where we all should be in. I wish things were better, but I know that we can try. And that's all you need to do. Even if you live in a place without a yard, plant something you know the honeybees would love. And you thought, oh, but I'm afraid of them. Plant it on the edge where it's not by your door, because they don't want to sting you. They die. They want to just get the pollen and move it on to the next flower so it thrives. And that's what I'm hoping for everybody, that you thrive together.
Amen to that. Fantastic.
I should take up preaching, right?
Yeah, you should.
No, just this topic. This is this topic. My kids already went through the other one. No, don't do that. No, I already heard that.
We do have a couple of other graphics. Let me pull them up so you can walk us through what we're looking at.
So this is the details per what was printed by Fish and Wildlife. And I condensed it, to say the least, but I wanted people to see it. And for those of you who are listening to this and not seeing this, I'm going to read that, if that's okay, Dr. Jacalyn.
Sure.
So this is provided by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. 3,000 elegant, I don't know if that's the proper accent to that, but that's how they said, tern eggs that were recently abandoned and died on a nesting island at Boca Chica Ecological Reserve. That's a really important word. This was already a reserve, so people aren't allowed on this island even without the nesting season, in Huntington Beach. This is in Southern California. After a drone, which is prohibited in the area, crashed and scared off the would-be parents. So not only is this drone flying around, it actually crashed into some, and of course took out whatever eggs it hit at that point. So parents had the reality of, this is going to kill us. So in parentheses, it said, I want to make sure everybody knew where this came from. California Department of Fish and Wildlife via AP Associated Press. All our actions have consequences. This is my statement. What will you change today that might save a life? And I really wanted it to be broad enough to say there's not one way to save a life. If you see a stray animal, do the best you can to either notify the right people or rescue them if you can, and or do something. We so many times, Dr. Jacalyn, are just passive in our lives and are thinking, well, but what can I do? Well, that's your turn. Figure out what can you do. And if it's as small as when I first moved into a condo and I didn't have a yard anymore, which is the first time in my life, I went, oh gosh, what am I going to do now? Well, I bought milkweed, and that's what the monarch butterfly needs. And I bought some flowering plants for the honeybee, and I put them on the edge, not next to our front door, so that my neighbors weren't afraid. And I, because I want to honor that. People are afraid of bees. They die if they bite you or sting you, technically. So just think, they don't really want that. But putting the information out is so important. Please be a part of that. You can just put one beautiful flowering plant out. Say, I don't know how to do that. Go to a reputable nursery. And I love the hardware stores. This is not anything about them, but they no longer hire gardeners. They hire staff to check you out and get you product, but not to understand the product. So go to nurseries and talk to them. I was so lucky to run into one of these nurseries locally and spend time going over plants. Okay, what does this one do? Yes, I can read a card, but I had specific questions that are only a grower and somebody who's been challenged in growing wanted to know, and they could answer every question. And that the name of that chain, I believe, is Summer Winds, is where I went, and they're in our county. Try and get the help you can, but please, please, please watch out when you do recreational things, any recreational things, camping, frisbee, drones, whatever it is, and the time of year you're in. It could cost a life.
All right, let's take a look at the next one.
Mm-hmm. That's just me. When you want to know where I am, I'm Bridging Worlds. And now you can see why the name is what it is. So Bridging Worlds 2018 at gmail.com is my email. That's the best way to reach me. Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn.
Cute picture. I love it. That's cute. Okay, so next week, any idea what the topic's going to be?
No, because I leave it up to my wonderful executive. We've been together so long that she doesn't even need to read my palm anymore.
Yes, 125 episodes. That is more than 2 years. That's
That's and you amazing. Know what I love, and I want everybody to know this is the truth, is we are in such sync now that we have been working together because, like any new business or any friendship, we've luckily got both, is finding out, oh, well, she can do and she can talk about this because we want a quality show. That's paramount for both of us. And what I love, Dr. Jacalyn, is at least the last year, maybe 6 months, if I want to be conservative, you have seen or known or seen an article and say, oh, she can talk about that. And I'm like, okay. So it's been a joy. It's been a pure joy on the collaboration. I'm going to leave it up to my executive. And she tells me we're talking about it. We're talking about it.
All right. I like it. And I also think it's a great idea that we start bringing some guests, because I know a number of people who could really add some great content to this platform, this show. Absolutely. And a number of them are outside the United States. So that's the only thing it's going to be later.
But time changes and that. Well, and I know a couple of your other co-hosts have had pet questions and that kind of stuff. And I would love to, because then we can talk about their show a little bit and, get that crossover. I'm so amenable to that because I love, I love the team playing. and we all do. We do a lot of reunion shows and that kind of stuff. So if somebody has in our own troop a question, and especially an issue that they're currently having, call somebody else. Oh no, call me. And we'll talk about it on the show and see, people struggle with their job schedule, with their introducing a new pet, their son, daughter, uncle, aunt wants a rattler. No, don't do that. Just some, what's a good first pet? There's a million topics we still haven't covered, or at least again. So if anybody out there is looking for some answers, reach out to us. We'll cover it on the show.
Fantastic. I'm going to reach out to some people about being on the show as well. So
great.
Yeah, so let's look forward to that. And we want everybody to have a beautiful weekend and be safe. And remember everything that Pet Psychic AMINAH has shared today. Take it to heart. And remember, it's not just about you. It's about all of the creatures, big and small. So thank you so much. This show has been brought to us in part by one of our fabulous sponsors. It's Zane Carson Carruth, and she is the author of The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Yay. Wow. So please do go over to that website, theworldsfirsttoothfairyever.com, and let's take a look at Zane's sponsorship. Thank you, AMINAH. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Carruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating more memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Abella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book, Abella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Abella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.